think it's reasonably well understood that a more diverse business provides better business performance. So that's culturally, an employee value proposition, attraction, retention, and also financially. And so I think there's a very clear imperative to promote gender parity in the business as one of the areas of inclusion. We actually target inclusion at a lot of different levels, but we do identify that gender is one of the bigger gaps that we have in our business, and one that needs to be addressed. We absolutely want to be the best business we can, and so going down this path helps us to do that. We are aware that we have targets in the business against the sustainability goals to hit 40% of female leaders in the business by 2030, but we would really like to beat those goals. We want to set ourselves more stringent targets and achieve those outcomes earlier with better success, and really help to remove some of the entrenched biases that have existed in the business in the past, that we now have a better appreciation of what they are, how they affect our performance, and what we can do about it. In our business, we have a model which has delivery on the one axis and the functional support on another axis. So it's a matrix organisation. We actually have essentially parity in our functional part of the business. Where we need more change is in the delivery portion of the business. So that's the part that's underrepresented from female leadership, whereas I'm actually quite proud to say that we are very much on par for the functional parts of our business. Diversity and inclusion is a target for us, and that's another area that we want to improve our perspective is. So there's a lot of complementary work that goes on with that, without taking away at all from the specifics of what we do from a gender perspective. This has actually been a galvanising process for us in the business. So it's actually brought us closer together as a business. There is a reasonable amount of need to help with communication and explanation. There are a lot of statistics that are out there. Wages just recently published their statistics, which we understand. They aren't immediately intuitive for everybody. So some people do need some help to understand what might look like a 25% difference or less. Hopefully, happily we're less than that, but people immediately think that that's perhaps a difference in pay for the same job, which it isn't. When we do explain what the metric means and how it means in terms of senior positions and what we're doing that, we can show how we'll get to parity, but that it's not unfair along the way. It is something we improve. And that's helpful because people, rightly look at a stat and think they understand what it was supposed to mean, and in some cases it doesn't look like that. So that ability to have the conversations with the business, to hear from the business as well. I think a lot about leadership is representing what other people want, not telling them what you've decided they want. And so I'm very keen that we actually poll the business, we listen to folks here and have them share with us what they see, what their perspective is of Wood and of me, and then respond accordingly. Actually take action that shows that we had listened. Those are the things that we're proud to do, and I'm proud to be a part of. We're a subsidiary of a global business. So the business globally has been paying attention to this for the last 5 years particularly. What it had done originally and that we supported was to set up some networks in the business that specifically target diversity and inclusion. Two of the most important ones are our Equal Footing network, which looks at gender balance, and also race and ethnicity. So our REN network, Wood Race Ethnicity Network. Those help us to have better conversations with the business. The first steps though for us were accepting that we had a business with some entrenched biases, and then needing to actually get a measure about where we were and where we wanted to take the business. So in doing that, we then commenced pay equity reviews. So we do those in two stages or two fashions. One would be an out-of-cycle review, perhaps mid-year, where we're looking at all of the folks in the business, where they sit, with particular attention to women, to understanding if there are any disparities. We can also address it with our annual salary reviews, but I must say that's not quite as effective because you've got people moving at the same time, so it's harder to see a defined change there perhaps. The big effort for us was on visibility. So starting with visibility gives us the opportunity to understand exactly what we look like, how we present, and then what do we want to be, understanding that. how the business presented, what it was at in terms of pay, in terms of women in senior leadership positions, in terms of women in the business in general. As I said, we have an advantage that our functional teams are better represented, so that we are at gender balance. But from a delivery perspective, we need to take some action. The pay equity reviews have been a huge part of this. We've also set our own targets that are more stringent than the company. But one of the things we came together last year for the business was a review on our benefits and leave provisions. So we did that holistically. The way Wood's set up, we have 3 different business units. And so we have a consulting business unit, a major projects, and an existing assets or operations business unit. But we did this as an inclusive group together. And we actually holistically reviewed all of the leave provisions we had that were existing, and then identified what we needed to add. So the things that were existing were perhaps parental leave, but we improved the leave available to primary carers to 16 weeks. We added in leave for secondary carers to 2 weeks. We offer the opportunity that can be taken full-time or part-time. And specifically, we pay superannuation on unpaid leave for people that are out of the workforce for that sort of a reason. We've also introduced reproductive health leave as a category that people can access if they need that, and if that helps them through their own personal challenges to offer up. We have improved our access to family and domestic violence leave and the support that goes with that. So it's 2 weeks leave, but we're now introducing support packages that will offer prepaid debit cards, phones, access to accommodation and rental cars, and if necessary, flights to get people to a nearer capital city where a family member can assist them with that. Those are the key things that we've introduced as part of an overall raft of different initiatives that we've applied. Targeting women for opportunities for improvement, for promotion, for reallocation, whatever the case may be, gets misinterpreted by men as the only people who will get promotions in the business are women, which is not our intention and is not something which we are trying to promote either. We are looking for balance as an outcome. In achieving balance, there is some bias that's been present that we have to overcome. And so we need to identify opportunities to give some specific targeted promotions that haven't existed in the past. And that will involve promoting women to different roles, for roles they might not have really been able to access through either personal approach, so sometimes it's just having a quieter approach, or because of some of the entrenched biases. So least effective for us has been creating, sometimes there's a perception that people feel that this is targeted only at the advantage of women. It's actually targeted at the advantage of the business and all people in that. And so on the positive side of that, we really are looking for more men as allies to gender balance in the workforce. And that's where it's effective for us, but yeah, the corollary itself is has been something that is just a watch for us. Look, there's been quite a lot of change for us and it's been quite exciting. I had mentioned that we've revamped our leave provisions and benefits. So as I said, reproductive health, family leave, including all the way through to grandparent leave as well as appropriate. But I think the opportunity to pay super for unpaid leave has been a really special addition, and also the opportunity to offer superannuation in part from 5 years service in the business. So ahead of the mandated statutory provisions, just gives people the opportunity to access that leave and to use it creatively for what they want, rather than it pushing out to 7 or 10 years from there. We have addressed family and domestic violence. I've spoken of that. We've created and stood up a network called Women at Wood, and it's not trying to do the same things as the equal footing. What it is doing is help to identify any barriers or blockers and opportunities for women to take on new roles in the business. And so that particular forum is held up by women as participants there, but it feeds into equal footing and it feeds into the other forums we have. My role is to look after Asia Pac, right? And so not only Australia, but certainly a large proportion of what I do is in Australia. But we have locations in Malaysia, in Brunei, in the Philippines and elsewhere. Really pleased to say that earlier this year we've appointed a female Filipino country director to the Philippines. So based in Manila, a lady named May Campbelling, and something we worked out with May in the recruitment process, identified her as clearly the best candidate, and had allowed her some time to close out her previous role, and came in, and she started earlier in February, and she's made a tremendous impact since. And for me, it's been not only showing that we want to have Filipinos leading our business in the Philippines, but in this case, having a lady have the opportunity to come in and offer just something different to what we've done in the past. Really proud that we were able to do that, and happy there. Our local target has been to promote 6 women into leadership positions in the business through 2024. We've currently had 4 of those achieved in the first 3-4 months of the year, and so we're well on track to meet and beat the target we've had locally. So these are some of the things going for us, and that is as a result of planning this for the last couple of years and being ready and getting some momentum behind where we're at. I've had my leadership team come together, and we have discussed how do we approach gender balance in the workforce. What can we do more about it? How can we foster better conversations with people in the business? I probably adjusted my thought process a few years ago from feeling what I thought was doing the right thing with best person for the job to hire for the future we want. And so the difference being that sometimes you can unconsciously hire in your own image, or you can promote is based on entrenched bias. So there might be a disproportionate amount of men in a pool to choose from. Taking on the mantra that says hire for the future we want, and help people through that, educate people, train people in how to interview and how to inquire for people on a gender neutral basis, gives us the opportunity to tackle our part of what's been going on here. And so for me, it's been that understanding that hiring the best person for the job is a fair mantra, but hiring the best person for the job with a known bias isn't appropriate. Hiring the best person for the future business that we want to represent, and I'd like to be a part of, is a better outcome for us. Not everyone's had the same opportunities in their career. We certainly, when we look at diversity and inclusion, appreciate the difference between equity and equality. You can give 2 people the same opportunity, but if they've come from different backgrounds, that might not be equitable. So we would look to an equitable outcome that perhaps helps certain people differently because they've had less opportunity in the past, or correct otherwise. So when I joined CGE, it was feeling that we were doing a good job, but maybe not having enough calibration to understand how that looked opposite other organisations. It was certainly an eye-opening experience to come in and have a conversation and say, there are some gaps. We are not as good as we think we are. We could do a lot more. We have a lot of good initiative, but we weren't getting the traction we needed. So I think, why would other people choose? It's actually to come in and open up and say, right, let's understand exactly where we are against a best-in-class peer group that has productive conversations to discuss how we approach achieving gender parity, gender balance, and there is a raft of resources that CGE offers at the same time. There's information, there's tools to help measure, to help policies, to just help as references for what might be appropriate for the business. So I think it's mainly about choosing to be an ally to women, choosing to engage with others who are in the same boat. There's so many folks that are trying to run organisations, whether it's public or private, and with all of the best intent, just not able to gauge where you stand, how well you sit against the best in class. And I'm pleased that that's something that I've been able to understand much more now. And I feel like in the last 18 months, have a much better understanding of the traction we get with certain policies, procedures, activities, and actually the network that I have as a result that allows me to reach out to people outside the formal conversations to say, right, let's talk about what we're both doing on these things, how we could work together, and how maybe Wood can learn a little more about what we should be doing.